Well, welcome back. I'm Tonya from Tonya's Witchy Kitchen. And how are you doing today? So my youngest son, the oddball of them all, he decided he was going to do what the high school calls a 50-50. So he decided to homeschool all his core subjects and just goes in for his electives like automotive, construction, welding, all that stuff. Right? So he's limited on his electives because he's not a full-time student there. But we will see how this goes. So when we were setting up his homeschooling for his electives, I told him, I said, you can take up to 6 classes. And so he was scrolling through and he was like, oh, they have German. Oh, I'd love to, cuss people out in German. And I'm like, I don't think they're going to tell you how to cuss people out in German. But I'm like, if you want to take the course, you're more than welcome to. So he signed up for German too, along with his other core subjects. So I think my oldest daughter took French. Oh, I cannot remember. I think both girls took French in high school. I know my son took Spanish. See, I'm not sure if my youngest daughter, if she took French or Spanish. I want to say she took French, but she had a bad teacher because the teacher left and could not teach a thing. And then my son took Spanish in middle school, and then he took it in high school, and that she had the same teacher as was teaching French. She switched to Spanish, and it was horrible. So when he went to Spanish 2, or the next Spanish up, he had a different teacher, and she was kind of appalled that none of the kids knew any Spanish. Yeah. And then my middle son, I don't think he took anything. You know how you get the North Dakota scholarship, okay? They dropped the foreign language requirement for him, which I kind of thought was kind of crappy, but yeah, so I don't think he's taken any foreign language classes at all. So it's kind of interesting that my youngest wanted to take German, and I'm kind of excited to see what he does. But as far as homeschooling goes, I know everybody does their own thing, and there's so much happening, but I actually made my son sign a contract with his, because it's like, you have to stay on course, you have to I think I have the contract somewhere here, unless he stole it from me. Yeah, I've done contracts with my kids throughout the years. I made my girls, they all had to sign a cell phone contract, way back when they got their cell phones, about not racking up minutes and not going over on text messaging, because you had to pay for that stuff back then. And when they got a bank account for themselves, they had to sign it, if they went over, which was really hard to do, because if it's a minor account, they used to be nice and they wouldn't let you overdraw funds, but nowadays you got to really watch what bank you go to and how they set the account up. But they had to sign a contract, that they were going to be respectful with their account, and if they overdrew, that was their responsibility. And when they started driving, made them sign a driving contract that if they got a speeding ticket, they would pay for it, and if their insurance went up because of it, they would pay for it. All these stipulations. So my son's contract, he'll attend his classes. He won't be allowed tardies by me. His weekly homework will be completed each week, unless I say, we had stuff going on and okay, you can push it to next week. And if it's a non-public school day, he can count it as a non-homeschooling day, unless he wants to do homework. And he will, and then there's a few other stipulations, and then there's consequences. That way we're on the same page. And yes, you can. A handshake is considered a contract in North Dakota. It's a legal binding contract if you give your word, okay? But that's really hard to do when you are having a discussion with somebody over the course of 2 weeks. You're not always on the same page. I think it's really important still to just write everything out and have it there so that you all know what's going on. Obviously not with my son's schoolwork. We've had a few other things come up where not everybody is on the same page, and that makes it really hard and stressful on the family. So just a little tidbit for you there. But anyway, today we are doing a soap. Yes, we're doing another soap. Talk all about it in the video. And so 3 things: be kind, be forgiving, be you. And let's go check out another version of the Aloe and Mint soap. Okay, into our soap, Aloe and Mint. I decided to change the design for this like I always do. You're like, yeah, funny. But let's see. This is made with 100% peppermint essential oil. This is one of my daughter's favorite soaps because she's the essential oil nut. You know, she's kind of like a, fragrances are bad for you, Mom. Well, there's 2 sides to both coins there, because some people think essential oils are bad for you. So we're just playing all the bases here. But so if you're going to figure out how much to put in soap, check your manufacturer's warning or go on Soap Calc. Make sure you have the right peppermint. But this is very simple overall. It is 100% aloe vera juice in replace of the water for the lye solution. Okay. There is also the only thing I would change ever in this is if I decided to grind up aloe vera, the dry aloe vera leaves that you can buy, it would be to grind that up and put it in here as an exfoliant. And I just have not done that yet. It would be fun. I just haven't done it. There's no rhyme or reason, but that would make it, extra scrubby. And, with the peppermint, it might be too scrubby, too harsh. No, it's not. I actually have used this in the shower and it is not anywhere near, irritating at all. Okay. So my colors are Savage Garden, that goes into 1/4 of the batter, and Green Vibrance with a little bit of green oxide, which goes into 1/4 of the batter, and titanium dioxide. Okay, I'm lying. That was what I did the first time. This one has Kermit Green and just green oxide. That is Kermit Green. I am so sorry. I was reading my notes going, why are there so many colors? Because I changed it up. So it's not Savage Garden. It is green oxide. The dark green is green oxide. And then it goes in layers. So it's white with the light green, Kermit Green from Brambleberry, and then it's white, and then it's the dark, beautiful green oxide, and then another stripe of white back and forth, and eventually, I do it right away. I switch the mold around and I pour down. I should have poured a white actually right there maybe, but oh well. It turns out fine. And then a green, and then a white, and then do I flip again, or did I do another row? I wasn't sure because, sometimes it's cool to do it as a double stack, like another 2 runs back and forth. I think that is how the Santal 33 bar is. But yeah, this one, I guess I was just doing the shortcut as in 1, 1, 1, and 1 more white and flip. So the only thing you need is a halfway decent working batter. And I don't have a problem with the peppermint oil ever accelerating hellaciously to where you can't get it in the mold. I know some fragrance oils, they say will do that. I can't remember. Clove is one. Cedarwood. I can't remember what the other one is. So some essential oils will do just what fragrance oils do and ruin your soap. It's just a thing. And this wasn't very hardcore at all. It wasn't very complicated. It was just, there you go. That's what there was to it. I should have speeded this up just a little bit more, but that's okay. I won't. So as far as my son goes, he did think, even though the secretary told me, she goes, he's not officially a student. They didn't want any information filled out. Just make sure my contact information was correct. I'm like, they didn't want any medical papers. He's got severe peanut allergies. He's got an EpiPen. He's got Benadryl and an EpiPen and who knows whatever else in his backpack as far as medication goes. They have this new stupid rule with the lock boxes, and I'm just like, for their cell phones and electronics. I had to sign papers for him to get a computer from the school, and I had to sign papers that he could drive himself to school because it's on a separate campus. However, he can't ride the bus, so I'm just like, this makes no sense. Like, this is totally odd. And he's like, can you call? Because he got kicked out of school. He went to visit his friends over lunch hour, and that's when, you always have that para, and at the high school, they're always like really, I don't want to say mean, just on a power trip maybe. And she literally was like, oh, you can't be here. Oh my gosh, you have to leave, I mean, it's a kid. It's not like you're letting, strangers vote, which they've done. That's where our voting takes place, is actually in the school, which is super stupid. So we're going to let complete strangers go into the school every time they have to vote on something about the school district. But my son, who they've known for how long, can't go in over lunch hour to see his friends. I told him to get a visiting pass, but he didn't think that was going to fly. But I have some calls to make this week to find out, how this really works, because I just think they're flying by the seat of their pants, and something's gonna, bite them in the ass. But, you can't always tell them that, because I'm following protocol. You know how they are. They get on their little high horse and, think they know better than the parents, which I'm not saying. I am not that parent who goes and says, my child would never do this, right? I know the capabilities of my children, and they can be naughty, but I'm more of a helicopter parent. This was super soft when I took it out of the mold. I think I actually froze it for a little bit. I haven't been doing that lately. I've been leaving them in there for a while, and so, you just never know. As you can see, there is some definite soda ash on top because my dark green oxide is not very dark green. No. And sometimes, sometimes I steam it off, to my best of my ability. And sometimes I say heck with it. Because it is just a aesthetic thing. And even though it does kind of ruin the looks of the soap, I don't trim my soaps. I don't, do anything extra with my soaps. The soaps are soaps, right? And I don't know if I told you this. I was at a vendor show, and I had my 1 in a million with the ladybugs and my strawberry wine there, and nobody bought them. Nobody. And they smell amazing. Nobody bought them because the one girl was like, it's just too cute, right? I love my niece. She comes home, and every so often she will buy like $20 or $30 worth of soap, right? And the best thing about her is she doesn't care how cute it is. Even she will comment, oh, this is so cute. This is so cute. But you know what? She uses it anyway. She does. Because she knows if she really wanted a whole loaf of ladybug soap, I would make her a whole loaf of ladybug soap. Or if she wanted a whole loaf of strawberry wine, I would make her a whole loaf of strawberry wine. But she doesn't care that it's just too dang cute. Because it's soap. At the end of the day, it's soap. And these turned out extra kind of cute. They actually should have been for Halloween. I could have sold them as skeleton ribcage soap. They do kind of, you know what I mean. Looks like, skeleton ribcage. Yeah. Which is probably why the Santal 33 looked a little better. It had more definite side designs. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, overall, I love this soap. It is just a stellar, solid. If somebody loves peppermint, can't go wrong. Yummy soap. Like I said, the only thing to improve it would be to add powdered aloe vera. And so, like I said, it's peppermint. Here are the bars right when I cut them. And here are the bars when they are totally cured. I hope you had a good time. Thank you for stopping by. I will see you next time. And God bless.